Well, hello motorcycle enthusiasts that enjoy watching somebody put accessories on their motorcycle. Today I'm working on my 2024 Honda Goldwing, and this is the fourth video in my accessory upgrade series, you might say. If you want to see the previous video, the third video where I installed all of the Pathfinder LED products on this bike, there'll be a link right up above my head. Today though, I'm going to be going show chrome. You know what I say, show chrome or go home. And today we're installing these LED marker lights on the front forks and on the saddlebags. Now, this is not going to be a how-to video. I already have videos explaining how to install these on your Honda Goldwing. I think I did it on my 2018 Goldwing, but it's the same procedure because nothing's changed between then and the 2024 model. So if you have a 2018 to 2024 Goldwing, you might want to check those videos out. I'll put links in the description of how to install these show chrome side marker lights. But right now, it's time to get started. I would like to let you know, however, that show chrome is not sponsoring the video. They didn't pay me to make the video, but they did send me these marker lights for my brand new Goldwing. Thank you, show chrome, for sending these to me. And you can find these at Wing Stuff or your Honda dealer or your favorite online reseller. So let's get started.
This video is sponsored by Cruiseman's Garage Honda Goldwing Maintenance Video Series.
So my first task today is to remove the front fender so I can get access to the little rubber plugs behind those front forks, and I'm going to be installing the show chrome side marker lights that they replace those reflectors with LED lights. They're really cool because they provide a running light as well as a amber turn signal that flashes, of course, when you put on your turn signals. Okay, so we've got our rubber grommet here. We're going to go ahead and cut a notch large enough for this wire harness to fit through, but I don't want it so large that I'm going to be worried about moisture or water. So we're going to just kind of, and also make it where the rubber might even have to stretch a little bit. That's going to work just fine. Okay, now we're going to install, first of all, we have to run our wire through this opening here. It's actually 3 wires. There's a ground, a running light, and a turn signal wire. So we have 3 wires on this particular harness. Okay, now we can reinstall our little rubber grommet and just basically do this by feel. Oh, actually, it might help if we put the nut. We use the same nut that came off towel. I think it looks really cool with that black fork. Obviously, this would be easier if you remove the front wheel. That adds several steps to the process. Okay, so we've got it on there. Now let's tighten it. When you work on a Goldwing, you kind of learn to work by feel because you can't see what you're doing ever. Okay, that's installed. Now we'll see if we can't get our rubber grommet on there. And now what we want to do is run this wire in between this little fender liner and the front fork, and that will keep it from, you know, getting up into the wheel. And of course this wire is much longer than what I'm going to use because it's designed where you can run it all the way back up under your seat to wire it into the show chrome isolator fuse block or whatever other isolator you have. I am doing a custom wiring, so I won't need nearly this much wire. So I'm just feeling back behind here to make sure that these wires are up against the inside of the front fork, because what I'm going to do is I'm now going to use a cable tie to tie off this this brake hydraulic connector. They do give me some zip ties or cable ties in the kit, so I'm just going to use one of theirs. Again, I want to make sure that it's as tight and out of the, we don't want it to impede with the wheel, obviously. That would be a bad thing. And so yeah, it feels really nice. Okay. So now it's just a matter of tying all of my wires together for the 3 sets of lights that I have on the front of the bike. I have the cowl lights from Pathfinder LED. I've got the Muth mirror lights and wires coming from the Muth mirrors, and then I've also got these show chrome side marker lights, and I've got all 3 of those sets of wires. You can kind of see them here tied up to my radiator hose there. And I'm basically tying all these together. They're going to run right across the top of the engine, and they will eventually terminate just behind the, toward the back of the engine, right where that outer deflector is. We'll show that in a future video. Okay, so here you can see the wire tied off to this brake. It's really not a hose, it's more of a brake pipe, but it is covered in rubber. And I avoided the ABS sensor wire, which is back here. I didn't want a zip tie or a cable tie to that. I'm only cable tied to this little brake hydraulic pipe here. And then it up here as well, and then it goes back and ties off to the frame. And then we start connecting to our other wires. I have 3 other wire harnesses, and they're zip tied together, and everything's going to fit up on top of this engine rail right there. And I will, you can kind of get a hint as to what I'm doing here. So all of these are going to be tied in here in this area. I also want to mention that the kit comes with all these different connectors and wire taps. I'm not going to be using any of these. I also want to mention that the kit comes with all these different connectors and wire taps. I'm not going to be using any of these. I don't use any of their wire connectors. I don't like tapping into existing wires. You could do that on the previous Goldwing pretty safely, but on this Goldwing it does not bode well. So I recommend you either use an isolator fuse block from Show Chrome, and I guess you could tap into using that there, but you don't really need to. You can just plug the wires directly into that, and I'm using a power accessory hub. But okay, so now we're ready to install our side marker lights that go on the saddlebag lids of the Honda Goldwing. And to install these lights, we have to remove the saddlebag lid. Now that might sound a little bit daunting, but it's really pretty simple. I actually have videos in my maintenance video series that show you exactly how to remove the lid, how to disassemble it, and that's what we're going to have to do. There is a liner in this lid that has to come out. Got all my tools ready here. I've got a Phillips screwdriver, actually a JIS screwdriver, a flathead screwdriver, and a pair of needle nose pliers. And those are the only tools that we're going to need to remove this saddlebag lid. Right now I'm working on the left side. I'll probably do a time lapse on the right side so you can kind of see all that So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove this strap, this little support strap. And to do that, we're just going to remove this screw right here. It's a JIS or Phillips screw. And I like to lift up the saddlebag lid while I'm doing this. Some people call this a saddlebag door. You can call it a door or a lid. Now we don't need to remove the strap up here. We just want to remove it from here. Just let it sit inside your saddlebag area. Now we also need to release this pneumatic or hydraulic, I think it's pneumatic, strut at the rear of the saddlebag.
I'm going to go ahead and speed this up to get through the video. I have a complete set of videos that show how to do all of these things, how to safely remove these saddlebag lids, how to disassemble them, so that if you ever need to do that, I show you how to do all of that in my Honda Goldwing maintenance video series. Once I got this removed, I come over to my workbench. I've always used a soft towel because we don't want to cause any damage to the painted surface. And now I'm going to remove the liner from this saddlebag lid.
So the next thing we do, the last step, is to remove this reflector. And to remove this reflector, we're going to use this 8mm wrench to remove this nut. So make sure you don't lose this little washer. And we'll set those over here with our other hardware. Now be aware that this reflector is not only held in place with this little threaded post and that nut, there's also a little guide pin at the very end. You can see it poking through right here. And there's a little adhesive strip on the underside of this reflector, or you can sometimes just slowly pry this out and you'll see that this is a little like a 3M dual-sided adhesive tape that just kind of helps hold it in place.
Next, we're going to lay down some masking tape because we're getting ready to drill a hole into this cover, and we're going to use the instructions from Showchrome to measure it out just right so we make sure we're drilling in the correct place. I always use a step bit when I'm drilling into plastic because it does such a beautiful, smooth, clean cut. I'll put links in the description of this video to the step bits that I use, and they just work amazing. Next, I'm going to drill a hole into the painted lid per the instructions. And our last hole we're going to drill is in the liner itself.
So now we're ready to install our Showchrome side marker light on the saddlebag. And you'll notice that it has the same threaded post that we have on the factory reflector. There's also a little marking here for the adhesive strip. They do provide you with a little piece of adhesive tape, and I'll go ahead and put that on there. But one little tip I'll give you is when you undo this wire, go ahead and try to straighten it out as much as possible. Everywhere you see one of these bends, just go ahead and bend it the opposite way to try to make this wire. It's going to make it much, much easier to thread through the various holes because you've got to go through 3 different holes on the saddlebag lid. And it just makes it easier. Just go ahead and try to straighten this thing out. when you look in your little bag of accessories that come with the show chrome side marker lights, you'll find this little 3M adhesive strip. And we're going to go ahead and put that on now. And it just basically goes on like that right there. There we go. Yeah, that wire looks like it's going to go in perfectly. Don't forget you've got this little guide pin right here that fits in this little hole. I like to put the little guide pin in first. Doesn't really matter. It's just my own personal preference. And then we will stick the threaded post through. And if you kind of mash right here with your fingers, you'll set that adhesive strip. There's our little post poking through. Here's our threads. Here's our wire coming through the hole, perfectly drilled. And this is what it's going to look like once it's on the motorcycle. Okay, now we're ready to put this lower trim piece back onto the painted shell. Of course, the first thing we need to do is we're going to need to fish this wire through the painted shell. So let's do that first. And our wires are coming out exactly where we need them. What it's going to look like once we get it back on, this still needs to come up a little bit. A boss that's not quite lined up yet. Let's work on that a little bit. Kind of push it up from the bottom, and then there we go. Now it's all sealed up correctly. You just want to make sure that this edge is tight against the painted surface, because there is a little one of those screw bosses here. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a bear to get that in, but once you get it in, it's done. And you can see here, this is the hole we drilled. This is the one that actually mounts. It's a mounting hole, so you don't want to put it into the incorrect opening. Okay, job done.
So that completes my addition of the show chrome side marker lights. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. That really helps our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next accessory update video.